Oh,
Hold on.
cool.
Welcome to episode 22 of Unplanned with Phil Bland. And today I've got Natasha Paloni, and she's one
Hi.
half of my favorite, one of my favorite couples in
Oh,
Glasgow.
I like the disclaimer halfway through that there.
and she's she's got her dog in the background, and she might be she might be giving tips on grocery shopping at midway through this. Anyway, Tash has like an interesting story, having worked in nightclubs for a while, and then decided to make the jump to set up a couple of different businesses, and thought she'd be a great person to speak to, and building teams, finding customers, that type of thing. And she's just an all-round good egg. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's all right.
So it's really funny because I think everyone always thinks my story starts with nightclubs, but it was actually a total mistake and a total accident that I even ended up in Cushion.
Right.
I actually got put there as a punishment because I'd fallen out with my boss in one of the restaurants that I worked in. And he basically said, you can either hand in your notice because G1 don't like to fire anybody.
Sorry, just for anyone watching this, G1 owns loads of restaurants in Glasgow, in Scotland, and Cushion is a nightclub, or restaurants and nightclubs and lots of different other things and bars. And Cushion is a nightclub that they own, which Tash used to be, but put on a punishment. That was the naughty step for you then.
So when I first started, I kind of got, they basically said, you're going to Cushion because we don't think that that's what I would like to do. So they were hoping that I would quit. And I'd never worked in a nightclub before. I was petrified of it. I hadn't even been to Cushion as a customer. And I literally just sat in the office for the first sort of year. I can't remember anything that went on. I was so petrified, and I just lit the candles and then hid in the office again for the rest of the night. And then eventually I was like, well, if I'm going to be here, I might as well try. And then I guess the rest is history. I was there for 4.5 years in total. I ended up becoming the general manager, and it's where I met Carlo. So, it's got lots of good points.
Wow. So what was Carlo doing there? He was doing
photography. And it's a funny story because there's quite a big age gap between me and Carlo, but we didn't have any idea.
In which way?
So I'm 4 years older than him.
Oh, right. All right.
He's my toy boy.
Wow.
So when we met, I mean, he's quite hairy. You've seen him.
I wouldn't have thought that. So I wouldn't have thought that. So.
But I was like, right, okay, so he must be. I didn't really think about it, but he came in and he was very charming, and he used to bring me sweets and chocolates and things, and he asked me out on a date, which I'd never actually been on a proper date before. I was 24 and no one had taken me for dinner. Like, eventually when I had a boyfriend, we'd go out for dinner, but I'd never been on that awkward first date. So he asked me out on one, and we just never discussed ages. And then it was his birthday maybe 2 or 3 months into us kind of still seeing each other, and he kept going on about how it was his birthday and he wanted to take me away on holiday and do all these amazing things, and I'm like, ka-ching, this guy's minted, he's amazing. He's like, knows how to celebrate a birthday, which is very important for me. I like a birthday, like,
you've got to make a big deal out of it.
So it then conspired that the reason he was so excited about it was that it was his 21st birthday, and I was like 35 at this point. So after my parents told me off, or they weren't too impressed about the age gap. I think especially when you're like 20, 21, I mean, I've got a 21-year-old brother now, and he just seems like such a big kid, and to think that I was dating that, like, but it obviously worked out very well, and we've been married almost 4 years now.
Wow, it all worked out in the end. So any kind of gossip from the nightclub days? Any good stories?
There's just too much. Every day.
Give me some good. Give me some gossip.
There was like I was quite lucky in that time. I didn't really have any instances where people had weapons or really hurt themselves. There was one big fight that I remember, and I just got a new white blazer jacket, and I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever bought in my whole life, and someone had a fight and I got blood all over it, and I had to bin it that very night, so I was super sad about that. But I mean, there was like a lot of sex in toilets. There was a lot of and I don't know if you remember the Cushion toilets, like you couldn't get into them, so they were like proper barricaded, like big doors that made it really, really hard as well. If like
It
someone
was downstairs, I remember.
yeah, so the downstairs ones, I think they were cubicles, but there was
Right.
other girls' toilets that had like proper doors,
Okay.
and there was no way to get in, and it locked from the inside. And there'd be loads of times that people would lock themselves in after hours and things. In fact, that's a good story. I'll tell you this one. So I had obviously Cushion, Common, and Viper are all part of the same company, so we all kind of know each other, and all the staff used to go. They were all open different nights of the week, so the staff would have their like, you know, one night out in Viper, one night out in Common, so you get to know everybody.
Yeah.
So
I used to work in the Waverley tea rooms. They were owned by
Did you?
Yeah, I
Oh,
sure did.
yeah, well, I lived in Southside for a little bit, and I used to go there all the time,
Well,
because there's not much else to do.
no, I know.
It had a good outdoor area, I'll give you that.
Yeah,
So yeah, so Carlo and I were finishing up one night, and I think I'd just become general manager, and I'd kind of had to fight to get that. They were a bit like, you're still young, you're a female, unfortunately, not that that would make it that I couldn't do the job, but more, you know, if people are getting into fights or people are complaining that they can't get in, you know, people would still go like, we see the manager, and you'd be like, I am the manager, and they weren't happy about it. So I was prepared for all that, and I knew that that would be kind of against me when I applied for the promotion, but I managed to talk them into it, mostly by saying I'd leave if they didn't give me the job.
That's always a good one.
Yeah, that seemed to work.
You can only do that once, though.
You can only do that once.
You've got to really choose your moment, and then you strike.
You need to know that they're like a bit stressed out about it. They kind of, they promoted my boss, and rightly so. And he then had all of the clubs to look after. So he had told me about it in confidence that he got his promotion, and I decided to just go straight in there above him and say, I want his job, or I'm leaving. And they knew that they wouldn't have time to recruit anybody.
Right.
In that time, because I think they were hoping they would do the recruitment process, but I'd still be there as assistant, and then they could make that decision, you know, based on all the.
It must be.
Give me it.
We'll get onto it, but it must be funny for you now as the business owner, thinking about somebody.
I know.
Like, but we'll get to that.
Sorry, I'm really bad for digressing.
No, me too.
Always go back. So anyway, I had just become GM. Everyone still kind of is a bit like, oh, you know, will she be able to do it? Will she not? You know, there's the half of running a club. You've got the paperwork, you've got the marketing, you've got to look after your team, but you've also got to be the face of this nightclub and try and push it to the next level. And at least if you're not, you know, you can't lose money year on year. You might be making the same, because
it was very popular. Everyone was
popular. Everyone loved it. It had a really bad time before I started. I'm not saying that was me that fixed that. But they had become very.
People can draw their own conclusions.
Yeah, well, they had a lot of people who. They had previous managers who would demand that the girls wore high heels, bare legs, short skirts, and it would just kind of, as that became acceptable, more things, like they would push more things onto the girls. It was all female bar staff and then all male management, and it was just really a quite toxic place to work. So we kind of got away from that, I think, after a while. But I mean, everyone still went to Cushion for the girls, but I think
but you were in charge.
Yeah, I think the vibe of it all, it was an all-female management team at one point, and it was a lot less like yank your skirt up than you know, let's all get dressed up and have fun tonight. And
kind of sounds like you're a madam in a brothel or something.
So I can put that on my CV. So anyway, sorry, right, back to this. So there I am, super stressed out, spend a full night like checking, and I don't know if you know, but Lucky 7 in Flat 1, which is above the nightclub, a different venue, but owned by the same company, was on top of Cushion, and there was like a back corridor to go out, and it shared the same fire escape. So it was like a double door thing. Anyway, I like checked the place, all totally fine, put the alarms on, left. Carlo had just got his car as well, and we lived Southside, so he'd only just passed his test. So I'm stressed out about my job, he's stressed out about driving, and we drive through town and get a phone call saying your alarm's going off, you need to get back there. So he came back going up all the one-way streets in between all of the ones. We get pulled over by the police, and he's like, no, you need to, like, something's happening, Cushion's on fire, it's been broken into. And the police fortunately said, oh, that's actually where we're going, so we're going to follow you. like we just had a call, and it conspired that this girl had locked herself in because she had fallen out with someone from one of the other venues, her boyfriend at the time. She'd caught him cheating on him or something, and she said, I'm going to ruin your life, but they wouldn't let her into that venue, so she snuck into mine and then hid herself in the fire escape, and then decided to try and like break out, and I almost got sacked. It was so bad. I finally managed to prove by linking together all the different CCTV systems that she had specifically about an hour before everyone closed went and hid herself in the in like a lift, like a kitchen lift thing from downstairs. But things like that would happen like all the time. All the staff used to go out with each other. It was like you would also be making sure that not everybody would sleep with one another, I guess. And, like you have a staff night out, and then
how do you keep tabs on that? I've had that as well when I've been working in offices as well. Do you know, one time I was working on a project, and you know, everybody was flying to Dublin in Ireland, and I had two people on my team, and they turned around and they managed to figure out how to both be working on the same piece of work or something. But then they were like, oh, well, we should probably go to Ireland to discuss this with the client. And I was like, should they? And I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, I guess there's an argument for that. And then it transpires about 2 years later, they literally just organized the whole thing so that they could go and stay in a hotel in Ireland together. I'm like...
to be fair, I've had that more. I think I'm more aware of it. With the cafe, obviously it's daytime, so there's no drinking at the end of the shift.
Right, so wait. Tash left Cushion and then opened up cafe, and also what else did you open?
So I got Ocho, and then I've also got a vegan. I own Ocho, and then I've got a partnership with one of my very good friends, Mark, and we do like vegan catering, menu consultancy, and pop-ups and foods.
Cool. So in Ocho, you're keeping tabs on the stuff.
So, well, to be fair, it's not. I think in the first year I was a bit like, "Woo, I've got this bar, and I can like take what I want from it and not have to tell anybody." And basically spent an absolute fortune on alcohol for myself and the staff. So we would have a lot of staff nights out and a lot of parties. And there was one time, I think it was summer. I have a lot more staff in the summer normally, not right now, but we have an outdoor area. So we kind of double the amount of floor staff that we've got. And so I had like my 6 girls, I had 2 guys in the kitchen and one other girl in the kitchen. And we decided that we were all going to have a staff night out, and we all went to Sub Club. There's this one girl who I knew that one of my guys fancied. So we all ended up pretty drunk, to be honest. I think it was like a bit it wasn't good time drunk. We just were wasted, and everyone started sort of petering off. And I had work the next day at like 10. So I was like, right, I'm going to go home about 1 or 2, left them all. And the next day get in, and my 10 o'clock start doesn't show up. So it hits 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. She's not there. Her friend calls into the cafe and says, I've not seen her. I don't know where she is. So we're trying to piece together what's happened. And then we're like, it's awful, but we all thought that this member of staff, the guy had maybe tried to take her home, or something had happened. And we're all like, has he like murdered her or walked her in the house or something? Like, you know, all the family members are calling. Everybody knew that she was out. The last person that seen her she was getting in a taxi with this guy and getting taken away. We couldn't get hold of him either. At first we're like, maybe they're in a little bit of a love test, but eventually he's like, no, I dropped her off outside her house at the bottom of the road. So then I'm like, oh my god, she has gone missing between her road and her flat. And she is dead. And like for 2 days or so, I was like flirting with the idea of calling like her family and getting the police involved and things like that. Her flatmate,
she was gone for 2 days.
Yeah, the flatmate was like, please don't like do it. But no, but like let's just keep an eye out. Yeah, I think it was from the last time that she'd seen her, it was 2 days later. She eventually surfaced, and apparently she just decided to call this guy that she knew and go and stay at his for 2 days and patch me because she was too hungover, patch other work, and just not get in touch with anybody but I was like, you can't do that in this stage. I was like ready to call the BBC, get a full like missing thing, you know, those like please share statuses and you know, go on some interviews and stuff, or start blaming my other team like mass murder or kidnapping.
Yeah, no.
Like
you're like
that didn't work out. Shouldn't stay much longer, but
I feel like there's a theme of you being a detective running through all of,
but
looking at CCTV cameras.
Yeah, I think when you've got a big team of people, it's a bit like being a mum. I think everyone just expects you to deal with it. It's like, Mom, just do this. Can you fix that? Can you go with this?
Yeah.
So yeah, you do inevitably have to kind of sign up
Keep
to
that.
have
Yeah.
to look after, and if that's sitting them down and telling them about the birds and the bees, and that no, if they're both supervisors, they should not be sleeping together because everyone else in the team can tell. Then yeah, so be it. But
is that how did you? Yeah, I guess how did you think about like finding people to come work for you? A lot of people when they start businesses maybe just hire their friends or people that they know.
Yeah, I've definitely done a lot of that and hiring people I knew. I was lucky though, because a lot of people that I knew were happy to be like, I'll come support you and do like 1 day a week or so. I didn't really need a big team. The person that I'd found when I first opened, I was totally fine on everything front of house. G1, for all its sins, they really give you so much work that you've got to do that I there was no part of opening a business that scares me. When it comes to all the financials and budgeting and planning, etc., fine. I had taken out a loan to cover the cost of buying like the goodwill of the cafe, but I didn't really have that much, which I think is good now, especially now I don't have any debt on it because the small loan that I'd taken out was paid off within the first year.
That's brilliant.
And so like before I was always like, oh, maybe I should just get an overdraft or get some funding there to spend more on marketing, etc. But now, like, I mean, bear in mind the first week that we closed from lockdown, no one had announced anything like the furlough or the grants, etc. So there was a full 2 weeks of me just like crying every day of being like, I've lost my business. And it would have been much worse if I had big loan payments that were sitting there. But fortunately,
but obviously rental payments were a big fear at that point.
Yes. Well, my landlady eventually, I was like, I'll give you what I've got in the bank, which got me up to I think the next month. Like I paid March and April, and then I was like, you're just not getting it until my grant comes through. And she was okay. She was nice. She was watching this.
I mean, it's life. Like
at the time, but this is before the grant was announced. So I'm like, where do you think I'm going to get this from if I'm closed for 3 months? Like I maxed out all my overdrafts, all my credit cards on paying supplier bills, and it was supposed to take the government 10 days to get me the grant, but I only got it on Wednesday.
Yeah, I heard some of them took a while to come through.
And I really think that only happened because I hounded like 47 MPs. So I dread to think for anybody that doesn't have a ghost Twitter account to use and demand questions as to why they're stealing money from.
Are you one of these Russian trolls?
I'm not normally. I really don't like Twitter. I think everyone is really horrible to each other.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot more positive. There's a lot more joy in there.
There's a lot of fires going on. People like fire on your photo, or there's a lot of people saying, do you know what my favorite YouTube response is like when predominantly a girl will put up a picture and then another girl will respond like, you look hot babe or something, and then the best reply, I actually say it in real life to somebody whenever they give me a compliment, they go, says you babe.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, no, I mean everyone's that's what I mean.
Everyone's so supportive of one another.
Twitter people are just like foul. Like I don't know who lets these people have a computer, to be honest. But everyone's just really horrible to each other. I just, for my own mental health and sanity, I'm going to delete that once this is all over.
But I've heard some people with some of the delays were coming through in Glasgow for people getting the money, but I mean it's cash flow at the end of the day, and as long as you don't, hopefully landlords don't need to pay the bank if you don't need to pay the. I know.
Well, I've got everything through now, and it covers me for all the like measures that I'll need to take as well, with like sneeze guards and fun things like that. But
so how did you find it? So it's in Spears Wharf, so like how did you find the place? Why was it that place? Like how did you come up with the concept?
My flat here is in Spears Wharf. So that came first. Carlo and I have been for for about a year and a half. And after Cushion, I've been moved to the food venues in G1, and I was left to open venues. And so I had that, what annoyed me about, I loved opening venues, I loved finding the team, I loved being delivered the concept, and then, but they also were very flexible when it came to, you know, we'd be looking through something, I'd say, this isn't going to sell, you want to sell these products at this amount, but you also want to have this amount of staff on, and you want me to pay, because the way that G1 runs their business is, it's almost like they like charge you to run it. So on your cash flow, so you've taken £100,000 that month, you've got to pay them rent, and you've got to pay them the depreciation, and you've got to pay them back what they've invested. So if they've just spent £200,000 in a refit and you're paying that back at £15,000 a month, you've then got to work with the budget that's left from what they're taking from that, if that makes sense.
There's a central treasury that give money to each of the different restaurants.
Yeah, so I'm like, this would all be fine if you didn't want 45% each month to go back into that. You're not, I was like, I can categorically tell you, not gonna make any money for like the first 3 months. And they were like, oh, it'll be fine. And then they didn't make any money for the first 3 months. And it was like, why haven't you made any money? Fortunately, I had written a full big presentation on why they wouldn't. And I guess it, you know, you've got like a marketing department, a drinks department, like I think G1 is ran very effectively in that respect, that they've got all their own people to do all these things, but unfortunately at the time these ventures just weren't working out the way that they wanted them to. They didn't want me to change it in any way, and as they weren't doing that well, I was then kind of sent out to like a lot of different places, and I was just like, do you know what, I don't love this. My first ever job, before I wanted to go and study English literature of all things, before I got a job at the Fairmont and then Hotel du Vin in St Andrews. So luxury hospitality was my thing. That's what I wanted to do. And I was like, I accidentally got a job with G1 just to cover my bills when I moved to Glasgow, and all of a sudden I dedicated like 6 years of my life to this company, and you know, I'm not learning anything else, I'm not really doing anything else. So I quit. I gave like a long notice and was like, I'm done with this kind of style of
hospitality.
Yeah, exactly, you know. And
here, what was it about luxury hospitality that you wanted to be involved in it? So.
Oh, I just loved how fun it was. I mean, when I worked at the Fairmont, just no 2 day was the same. I was like, you know, they had 250 hotel rooms. Have you ever been to the Fairmont in St Andrews?
I have. Yes, I think so, but I haven't stayed.
So, I mean, it was just gorgeous. It was big. It was my first job. I went and worked there, and you know, everyone who works there, they're all amazing individuals from all over the world. And there was like guys who were cocktail, like, I think abroad hospitality is seen as this amazing job, and a lot of people go to university for hospitality. So they were filled with these people that saw it as the most amazing career, and that they were going to get to travel the world and look after amazing people and serve amazing food and serve amazing drinks. And I mean, amazing cocktail making is an art, and amazing food, it's an art. And being like an amazing host of a restaurant and making sure everybody feels that you are like their private guest, it's all an art. And I just loved it. I was so caught up in it and the magic of it all.
It's like theatre.
Yeah.
And it's also like potions as well, and magic in a way, because you're making these concoctions for people.
You know, there was always different events on. There was like, had a full week where it was like the G4 summit, I think, and I had to look after Tony Blair while he was here, and you know, all these things were so exciting. Everything about it was amazing. I got to travel, like, we went to Canada, and they had such fantastic, they looked after their staff so well. So I only had to pay something like $20 a night, and this is Canadian dollars, so it was probably like £10, to stay at like Chateau Lake Louise and Banff Springs. And me and my family went there for like 3 weeks, and the whole thing cost like less than a trip to London for 3 days or something, and they treated you like royalty while you were there. So I just loved it. I loved everything about it. And through that, though, I got poached by Hotel du Vin, and they asked me to go and be a cocktail, the manager in their cocktail bar through there, and so I was. But then my family decided that they were moving back down south, and I just could not afford to live in St Andrews. It's so expensive. Not anyone can afford to live in St Andrews. So my parents' family house is in Crail, which is like just up from that. They were obviously going to be renting it out or selling it. So I couldn't stay, unfortunately, even though I begged, and I decided at that point to move to Glasgow. So
and then you ended up at Cushion.
Yeah, so I came through to study. Actually, I was supposed to be doing a business. I was going to start with a business HNC. I think once I could have gone to university, but I think by the time that I'd sort of worked for so long, I almost didn't. At that stage in my life, I really just didn't want anyone telling me what to do. So I thought, right, well, if I go to college, it's a lot more relaxed. It's a bit, I don't know anyone in Glasgow, so it means I'll be able to like kind of meet more like-minded students. St Andrews, there's no like drinking scene or anything. There's just pubs. So I had never been to a club before. And oh my God, when I went to the Arches, pressure, I didn't even know what it was. I wore a dress and heels. And it was, mind was blown. So like it was just amazing.
It's a shame that shut down, honestly. Like, well, I mean, Arches was a staple of Glasgow night culture. It's a real loss. I mean, I guess we've still got SWG3 in Glasgow, which is awesome venue. But you know, whenever I go in there when they have like the food during the day and families going around, and I'm just like, yeah. And it's probably mostly it's
shopping trolley.
Yeah,
you know.
It's probably mostly families who have like before they had kids, they were in there like raving.
Honestly, it was just I think a totally different time for a club scene back when I first moved here, and that must have been a decade ago, which is just in fact longer maybe. My friend William just tagged me in like this group shot of all my friends, and we're all like sitting outside Buff Club, I think. And I'm like, how's that 11 years ago? In my head, I'm still 22.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you kind of, yeah, it's especially because we were the generation of Facebook. We were, when it just started coming out, we were the ones that would, and so when these things pop back up, and I think later generations are so much more like you know, Snapchat, they don't want to collect, they don't want to remember things, they don't want to keep a store of the information, whereas there's like this treasure trove of terrible pictures.
No. I've got a secret album, so whenever I'm like on a night out, sometimes I'll be like, remember this, and no one else can see, only I need to be in control, because I've had some questionable outfits, some very questionable haircuts.
I think I wasn't one of the ones that was, you know, carrying the camera. I was being tagged all the time.
Yeah, tagged. I did have a little digital camera, which I lost very quickly. But do you remember that when you used to have to take, someone would take this big clunky camera out?
You had to take a camera, a wallet.
You have to upload it into your computer and like upload 3 at a time, and it would take like 3 hours to get on.
Do you remember the days when you heard that little noise for the dial-up?
And LimeWire would take 3 days to download like one song. You put so much effort into it, you know. We all take for granted how quick things are and how much ease in lives, but until you've waited 3 hours to get half a song, then you can't
remember that.
Exactly.
And you play it constantly. You just get the wee tiny.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's just like.
Remember when you used to have to like type in your phone like if you wanted like a ringer to be like a song on like a Nokia 3360, is that what it was?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I had a 3310. Yeah. Must have missed that one.
No, but you would like if you wanted it would be like a beeping noise, but if you wanted it to beep like a song, like a pop song,
I remember that.
That
was so cool.
So like, and you'd have to spend like 3 days figuring out how to do it.
What about Snake?
I did love Snake.
I was so addicted. Like,
I'm sure they don't have an app for it. Why do I feel like I played that recently? And
I'm not sure, but if they do, I'm going to download it because I love Snake. But they probably made it more advanced. I like the LED version, the really basic one.
Super slow and hard.
Yeah.
I think I was like 13 or 14 or something when no, maybe even older when I got a phone.
Yeah.
I had a egg. And like now I know like 4-year-olds with phones, better phones than I've got. So
I know, and they can use them immediately. Like they pick them up and they
yeah.
start playing around with them like it's totally normal.
It's mad. I was literally having this conversation with my mum because she doesn't know how to like post photos to Facebook or anything. Bless her. And they're doing like free online courses, obviously, for everyone through lockdown. And one is like learning technology. And I was like, Mum, maybe now's the time to do this. But she couldn't figure out how to get onto it. So the irony of that is,
does your mum do this one? Like it's so good.
Like that's how I text when I'm really drunk. Was one but she just does it all the time. Bless.
Yeah.
But she knows how to work Instagram. She's very good at Instagram. She really likes putting up photos of Scottish castles. Bless her. But
is that her thing? That's the thing. That's where she gets most engagement from the Scottish castles.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bless her. Sorry, I'm just watching my dog. Who I had to cut myself in lockdown. So he actually looks like a miniature schnauzer, but he's not. He's a Lhasa Apso. But it's just a very bad cutting job. I think people would realise the things with ease that you can do.
Have you cut Carlo's hair?
No, God no.
No, you haven't been.
Thick Italian wiry hair. So like if I just there's no chance that I could shape it properly. I think it would grow back in looking like a toilet brush. And I also think that our hairdresser Stephen would kill both of us. So but yeah, I mean like both of us desperately need a haircut.
I desperately need to trim my beard. Like I
do it. I had to buy Carlo like a thing called a beard buddy, and it's basically like a bib, and you like put it in there and then you stick it with like little sucker things to the mirror, right. And then you shave and it like all goes in, and nice. It's life changing, and then you put it down the toilet and away the hair goes.
I love it.
He's used it in lockdown.
Beard buddy.
Very hair.
Get on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going full like what Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Yeah. You know, like clean shaven for your work. Smart, at least, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've just started back doing a contract, so I have to probably be smart. But fortunately, nobody seems to want to have their video on Teams, which is great because I can just roll out of bed and be as if I'm professional. Yeah, so it's quite nice to work remote at the moment. But you know, long may it continue, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about why did you go for like how did you come up with the concept for Ocho?
Oh yeah, sorry, I totally digressed off that question.
No, I mean it's
so ultimately with Ocho, I left G1. I hadn't really decided that's what I wanted to do. I actually went first and did a Sage course, sort of like just like a basic one.
Like more than that, because you were doing the luxury hospitality and then you went into G1. So then what were you thinking? I want to go back to luxury hospitality, or were you like, no, I really want to own my own business?
Yeah, what had happened was around the time that I decided to quit, I called my family and found out that one of my family members had been diagnosed with epilepsy, and I was like, why didn't you tell me? And they said, no offense, but every time you call, all you want to do is talk about yourself, and you're always working so much that, or not about me, but about work and about work.
What's going on with you?
Yeah, and then they only lived in St Andrews, but because I could never get 2 days off together unless it was a holiday, I hadn't got to see them in like 6 months, 7 months or so.
Right.
And I was like, I'm an arsehole. Like, I'm a really horrible person. To be fair, by this point, I was working so much. Carlo and I were fighting all the time because I was just a horrible human being, stressed all the time. And I was like, it's just not worth it. I'm working 110 hours a week for what? Like, I'm not a surgeon. I'm not saving the world here. I'm just serving some students some stupid cocktails. So I'm just going to take some time out and have a think. So I kind of went back to writing a lot and doing like product descriptions for people on websites. So I kind of had enough going that saw me up until the summer, and then I was kind of thinking, right, I really need to think about like an actual job. I've rinsed through all my savings and I've just been drunk for 3 months. So let's have a think here. And then I was actually in the cafe downstairs because I had a meeting with someone in regards to like the next batch of products that I had to write descriptions for, and the lady in the cafe looked really unwell, and I'd heard that she was in hospital. So I said to her, look, you know, you don't need to pay me, but if you need a hand at any time, please just let me know. I'm happy to come in and give you, you know, some support for a couple of days if you're still off, like recovering. And she said, oh no, hen, it's fine. I just had a tummy tuck, so it's self-inflicted. But thank you. But do you actually want to buy the place? Because it later conspired that she was wanting to leave the country and she just wanted some cash to pay off all the bills and be gone. And I was like, yeah, why not? So the whole
I love that.
Yeah, well, the whole process from me saying yes to getting the keys was 6 weeks. And I got them on my birthday in 2004, it must be now. God, no, 2015. And I didn't have any other money. So we literally just gutted the place ourselves. All my friends had to come and help. I don't know if you know Abigail Barr. Yep. She helped me unblock that toilet, bless her.
That was good of her. Thanks, Abby.
all my cushion girls came and helped me like scrub it, and family members and stuff. So we repainted it. Some of my neighbours did some stuff in exchange for like a bottle of wine and things. So it very much was done on the cheap. And fortunately, because I'd worked with a lot of suppliers with G1, they all gave me lines of credit.
Nice.
So I was able to like use all the same suppliers, so like Premier Produce, Inverse, etc. All these amazing people were just so like, yeah, sure. Matthew Alge just gave me a coffee machine. Everyone was just really happy for me, and it was lovely.
Awesome.
So, and then I really, the only thing that scared me was starting a kitchen. But there was a chef that I hadn't worked with her, called Camaria, who a couple of people who were friends with me who worked in G1, she worked in the food venues, and I heard that she'd left, but she was studying to be a nutritionist, and I was like, I really wanted to be healthy, all fresh food, everything cooked from scratch, nothing pre-made. That was always my thing about working in restaurants. I was so surprised at how much is like pre-made and then just microwaved at the time, and I was like, no, I want everything made from scratch, everything fresh. And she helped me achieve that. So she came in and helped me open up, and we literally just she brought another chef, and then we had one KP and then me, and that was pretty much it for the first like 6 months.
Right.
It was good because basically then as I earned money, I would then spend it. So then in came a nice fancy new grill, and I got to replace a lot of the kitchen equipment, etc. So we did it very much as we went, and all the decor, etc., was just what was in my house at the time. So I had an empty living room, but a lovely looking cafe, and then slowly I would then like replace it.
There's so many. There's it's quite funny that like one of the things is like it just sounds like an opportunity bubbled up and you grabbed it. And
I think
and so often people think, you know, when they want to start a cafe or they want to start some business, they need to like have some like grand vision of how it all plays out and things. But actually, it just appeared and then you grabbed it. And people also think you need to have everything in place before you start, which is just not the case. You're never going to be perfect when you open.
It would be really, really nice too. But I think having worked with opening venues previously, everything that it very much was the case. Like, okay, the menu needs to be finalized, everything needs to be costed, all the staff needs to be trained, and you kind of just think that like you're gonna go one day, and then as of that Monday business is opening. Maybe just how we were all looking at lockdown, like at the start of lockdown everyone used to say, oh, when everything reopens we'll all be like in the pub having a mad party, and as time goes by we all know that's just not going to happen, or it will happen so gradually that when it does happen we won't really notice it. And it was very much like that. There was no big grand like, okay, we're done and I'm ready and that's it. Ocho has been evolving and it still is. I think everything's going to have to change when I go back. The past 2 years, we've been doing build your own brunch. So you basically pick everything about your brunch, because I noticed that whenever we had a menu, people would always say, I'll have this, but can I have this as well? Or can I have this instead of this? And it would just frustrate everyone so much. And even I do that not so much now that I know how annoying it is, but I would do that before. And
I definitely do that.
So I was like, sure, I'm just going to do a build your own brunch. So you pick your base, how you want your eggs, or if you're going to have like scrambled tofu or avocado mash, etc. instead, and then 2 toppings, and then what sauce you want. And it's such a big hit, but I just don't think I'll be able to do that straight away, because every single dish that comes into that kitchen, there's no preparing for it. So you need 2 or 3 or 4 in the kitchen.
Yeah. Especially when you've got a big line outside, or you've got less people and things
exactly.
like that.
People are not going to want to wait like 15 minutes for us to prepare their chorizo and avocado eggs.
Well,
so delish though. Well, yeah, no, I think that'll be fine, because then if I maybe pick 10 of the like ones that I know, you know, people do tend to pretty much go for the same things all the time. So at least if I do pick a shorter menu, it'll be fine. But I think there's something like 30,000 different ways that you could have eaten that menu. So there's a lot of prep, there's a lot of storage, there's a lot for everybody to do, which is fine. It's great, and that's awesome at the best of times. But I think I'll probably only be able to have 1, maybe 2 staff members on when we reopen. So alas, not everyone will be able to pick exactly what they want, but I'm hoping to get back there eventually.
Yeah,
it's a fun thing to do. People really like it.
Yeah, does it feel like awesome that it's kind of something that just came from your imagination and then people are experiencing it?
Yeah, it's so funny, because I don't think I even thought of it like that for about a year or so. And then one day I was just sat in the kitchen and I was like, this is my kitchen, this is my venue, this is cool. Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of an extension of me. So it does make it quite hard. When I was told that I had to close it, I was just devastated. And I was really worried that I would lose it. I was so genuinely, there was 2 weeks of me thinking that's just going to be it. Even if, a couple people say, okay, you don't need to pay your bills, etc. When you got all your team, that there's no way that I could pay them anything. Pay their March wages, and then it's like, that's it, there's no money coming in. So I know that a lot of places have opened up for takeaway and things like that, which is fab. But because of where I am, which is right in the middle of, like, there's 197 flats in the Spearsworth building, and then there's me in the middle. I didn't want to upset anybody by reopening, and then lots of people coming onto the wharf, because people do, there has been quite a lot of like, oh, close the gates, we should let anyone that doesn't live here in, etc. So I mean, the gates are decorative, so we can't close them, but people don't realise that and like to try. But yeah, so I think I probably won't open again for like 3 weeks or so, but obviously I now have the luxury of being able to do so.
What would you like it to, obviously right now it's a crazy time for the hospitality industry, but things will get back to normal, just take a bit of time, and hopefully it's not going to be a massive dent, and some businesses will end up going out of business, but hopefully things, it sounds like you've run it pretty well, that you've not over leveraged with debt or things like that. So like, where did you want to take it? Like, what was the vision?
So I'm not sure. I think in the first year or two, I really wanted a second one, if not a third. I was like, I want a chain of Ochos. I looked into that an awful lot, and I don't know if you've seen, maybe it's because it's stuff that comes up on my newsfeed, but there's a lot of people writing about how we've kind of ruined the restaurant industry ourselves by there's no real margins in it. So it's very expensive. You maybe get like 1 penny in the pound that's actually profit by the time you pay everything. You pay your staff, you pay your food, you pay your water, electricity, you pay for the bins to get taken out, you pay for the music to be played, you pay for the license for the music to be played, like everything, aside from the air that you're breathing, you've got to pay for in a restaurant. And we started
and licenses and all of that stuff.
It's honestly just absolutely insane. And I think when you've got one venue, awesome, I kind of thought, oh, if I've got 2, that makes things cheaper. But when I actually sat and worked it out, I was like, no, it won't really, especially if you want somewhere in the city centre. I just don't know how so many places do it, to be honest. I'm really lucky that I don't pay rates. But the whole scandal with like having to pay a percentage of your turnover and then paying VAT and everything, I'm just like, how do people do it? I really don't know. And so I kind of put a pause on that, because I was like, do I really want to sign up? I've loved having Ocho, but I've not had that sort of deep financial stress of going, I've got investors to worry about, or I've got a loan payment to pay, which I think like maybe would be fine if there was like a team, maybe if it was me and Carlo doing that together. But I mean, he's just super successful in his own business. So that's kind of why we at the start of the year, I was like, I'm going to sell it, because he really wanted to move, to get, I mean, he works all over the UK, so it was a bit like, let's try and make a move and see, because most of his work was coming from Edinburgh or London, and we just weren't ever seeing each other. So, and I was like, well, let's face it, the most I'm going to really take out of it right now is open a second or a third cafe, whereas you could become a super famous photographer, and that'd be cool. So, you know, I could work anywhere and either have a cafe or a restaurant or work in that industry. And, you know, but for him, he needs to go where the work is. So obviously that's all changed, and I don't think that he will want to move to London anymore at this moment in time. So fortunately, we hadn't kind of pressed ahead too far with that before lockdown, but it was literally about 2 weeks before lockdown that I signed with an agent to sell the cafe. Wow. So it wasn't even on my radar at that point. We actually went on holiday. We were in Vienna like a week before lockdown, and someone was like, "Are you really still going to go?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just a cold."
I know. I think everyone underestimated it, and then it suddenly until it arrived, and you were like, wow, it's like, but it's so funny how quickly everyone adapted. It's just like it was a shock, but then it was like, okay, this is the new reality.
Yeah. To be fair, Carlo and I were saying this today. Like, I think I'm going to really miss lockdown, because as much as we've had some big fights, we actually enjoy like hanging out with each other. We never used to do that. You know, when we first got together and we both worked like, you know, from like 6 at night till 4 in the morning, and we just drank all through the night, and then like stayed in bed all day and watched films and ate junk food, like that sort of student lifestyle. We're grown-ups now.
Do you know what? It's also that's the whole reason that you stopped, you know, working at G1, because you know, you weren't spending enough time with family, or you would come on the phone and only be talking about work and things like that. So it's so easy to like go from one jail and then create your own jail for yourself, and then build a business that you hate running, that is kind of making you not be able to spend time with people you love and things like that.
I think as I was saying, did I say this before you started? I can't remember. And I was like, I've learned a lot through lockdown, to be honest. I'm lucky that all my family and friends are safe and healthy, and you know, even Carlo's Italian family, they all sort of, they're all fine, so I know that that's not the same for everybody, but as soon as everything kind of got sorted out with the cafe side of things, I really feel like I've undergone this like personal development. I've done like 3 courses online. I've started doing cooking courses online. I'm starting next week with a charity and helping them with cooking for mental health, and doing like videos for them and stuff. And I get to hang out with my dog all the time. He doesn't is he over there? Oh my god, I don't know what he's eating, but he's eating something that looks expensive. Is that some lipstick maybe? I'm not sure. So yeah, and then I've kind of realized, like, I think now if I was to leave Ocho, I don't think I'd go back into hospitality. I think I want to work in something a bit more like environment based, or like a charity or something. I'm not sure.
I think everyone is going to need to get some like level of perspective. And if anyone is complaining at the moment, sitting at home doing nothing, then it's just like, you've got all of your priorities messed up. You just don't like, we're so fortunate.
Exactly. I think my dad was super depressed because he's just worked every day for his life, and that's like his hobby, is working. He loves it. So like the first week or so where the company that works for closed down for COVID, they my mum said he just wasn't getting out of bed. So I was like, oh bless him, he's fine now. But he just never not worked. I think even after his wedding he went back to work straight away. So I think it'll be harder, and then there'll be so many like older people as well. We can do this. I can go on a Zoom call every Friday night if I want to see my friends. But I think for a lot of people it's really hard to. So but literally it could be worse. But
okay, no, it could be worse. Could be better. Could be worse. It's just like that's life.
To be fair, the amount of money that I've saved, and probably the amount of nights out that I
haven't gone on
necessary. I mean, to be fair, I'm saying all this as soon as everything opens again, and we're like, right, night out, I need one. Friends, I need to see everybody. But I think
it's been a good period of reflection. calm, peace, and all of that stuff. But there is this little devil on everyone's shoulder that's like, I want to get back out there and
Yep.
socialize and be close to people.
Exactly. See, hugging.
Yeah.
One of my best friends lives like 4 streets down, so we do see, not streets, doors, blocks down, sorry. And so we do see each other all the time. And it was her birthday the other week, so I went across and was like waving at her, and she started crying, and she was like, "Oh, it's so hard. You just really take for granted, I think, so much in your life, and when you're just not allowed to do it, then it's insane."
Yeah. I actually saw something on the news or something the other day where it was like a perspex sheet that had arms that you could go through it.
Yes,
and then did you see it? And a guy went round and on the crack. That was adorable.
I know, bless.
Yeah.
I know. See, I'm like, obviously Carlo and I we're fine here, but I think if, no offense to my family, but I think if I was like in lockdown with a big family, that would not have been okay by now.
Yeah. Same on my end of things. I've been a bit crazy as well. Well, no, I'm staying in a flat in Denniston at the moment. And yeah, I'm just working from here. I'm meant to be moving back down to London, but obviously, but it's a lot cheaper in Scotland. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then, do you think it's going to change your work? Like, as in, like, less meetings? Do you think people will be a bit more reliant on like online meetings, or do you think
I was
back to actual meetings?
Well, I was just talking about this earlier. It's like, it's like people buying, like, I was talking to this guy David McDonald about his packaging business, and he was saying trying to change people's behavior to buy packaging that is like less environmentally damaging and things. But it's also, from a work point of view, it's also hard to change people's behaviors, like to be more environmentally friendly if you're not having to travel for work and things like that. I think people just, I don't know, part of it, like, it's easier for me to work from home because I don't have kids running around and stuff, but I can imagine it's like very hard for a lot of people having to like homeschool plus work at the same time. So tricky one.
Argue over. Oh, sorry.
No, I just said that's a tricky one.
Right, yeah, no, I was like, Carlo and I argue over who has to walk the dog, him how to read and write and like form opinions and write essays and things like that. Like, that's insane. Yeah, like, no. But sometimes people will ask why Carlo and I never rushed to have kids till we got married, and I'm often like, well, see, right now, this is a bonus because I just couldn't think of anything harder, to be honest.
Must have been
through lockdown.
Yeah, it must have been it's been a crazy time for everyone, but sounds like, I'm happy to hear things are pretty good on your end, and hopefully you'll be back.
And then Carlo's still working loads for Edinburgh Gin and things like that, so that's good because he gets sent lots of free gin.
That's great. Yeah. I'll be coming around for a collection. I'll be like, Carlo, give me a bottle of gin. Come on.
I know, because I think. Oh, sorry.
I'll get him on the show as well.
Yeah, exactly. He can take photos of you while you film them. Carlo becomes like obsessed with things for a while. So right now it's cycling, and it's hard. He bought himself like a turbo trainer thing. So it's like a cycling. You put your on it, and it's like an indoor treadmill, and it sounds like a plane taking off. So he's been relegated to his studio with that, and I'm like, just pretend you're going to work. You don't need to tell me that you're just going to faff around cycling all day. But his studio is just underneath us as well, so we are quite lucky that I get to go and escape to Ocho, and he gets to go escape to his studio.
Yeah, that's key. That's key. Wee bit of space.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, we probably better wrap up because it's been over an hour. So
I'm sorry.
No, it's been brilliant. Honestly, it's been so great catching up with you. Awesome hearing.
It's been great to catch up with you too. I know. I feel like I'm not really spoiled having your own venue. I'm like, nah, just get rid of it. But it's amazing and it's awesome and it's so much fun. And I am, to be honest, this time it's really made me remember why I did it in the first place and what I love about it. And I'm really looking forward to reopening and properly getting my teeth stuck in.
Can't wait to come in and catch up in person.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, my dear. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
And I'll hopefully get to see you soon.
Hopefully see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.